Please join with me the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before us now is the approval of our agenda. Is there a motion?
I'll move approval of the agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign, and our motion to approve the agenda has passed. Now before us is the approval of our regular board meeting minutes of April 23rd, 2019. Is there a motion?
I will move approval of the minutes from the meeting on April 23rd.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, opposed, same sign, and our approval of the minutes has passed. Before us now is a time for public participation. This is the time for the public to address the board on agenda items or any items that they wish to address the board. We do have one individual who has requested time, and it looks like it would be Aiden Morgan. Aiden, thank you. He is a Abraham Lincoln student.
Yep. So today I have three primary concerns that I bring to you. The first of which being students' notification of rights under the Protection of Pupil Rights Amendment. So under Federal U.S. Law 20 U.S. Code 1232H, any accredited, non-accredited, or public educational institution is required to give proper notice of PPRA rights. For these rights to be meaningful, notice shall be sent at the beginning of the school year by any means reasonably likely to inform all families with students. Notice must contain actual or approximate dates of surveys seeking information about the 8 protected areas. What kind of notification is in place for this right now, and where can I find it? Moving on.
We don't address speakers, you address the board
Okay,
in your
sorry.
time.
So my second area of concern is confinement, Iowa Law 103.6. During the incident of April 11th, several Abraham Lincoln High School students, including myself, were locked into a cafeteria and told that we cannot leave, even to use the bathroom, except one by one. I'd also like to note that the administration at AL, while allowing the initial outdoor protests, when students returned indoors and began joining hands in circles, they began to break up those groups at their own discretion before implementing confinement. Was the use of seclusion and detaining several students necessary? Additionally, according to Iowa 103.6, documentation is required in all of the following: the names of the students and the employees involved in the restraint, confinement, or detention, as well as the administrator who authorizes any additional periods of confinement, the date and time and duration of occurrence, the actions of the students before, during, and after the occurrence, etc. Was this documentation created? If so, is this report open for public or press access? Number 3, allowing me to be threatened and harassed. On April 11th, 2019, prior to confinement, I was one of the few students still in the commons areas of AL as a recording from my own journalistic report. I was then approached by an individual who used vulgar language to threaten harm to my body directly in front of several Abraham Lincoln and CBCSD officials. Nothing was done immediately about this threat, and the individual continued to approach me until a fellow student exited the cafeteria and had to pull him back from me. I've since declined to press charges against the individual, and the administration did finally bring him and myself into the office for him to apologize. But this is the fourth in a string of assaults against myself, which the administration hasn't done much about. My call to action. I come here today to ask of you 4 different things. I would like for you to provide students and families an educational and formal statement of the right to opt out of protected information surveys. This includes all the surveys about bullying, etc. that are done in what is called real time in our school. I would like for you to consider an internal investigation into the events at ALHS on April 11th, 2019. I would like for you to offer more tools for students to hold administrators accountable for their actions, like a formal complaint tool, a forum for students to discuss issues for longer than 3 or 5 minutes, a mere twice a month. And lastly, I strongly urge you to implement a program like Teaching Tolerance. This would encourage administrators to consider all options when dealing with students, especially those who are defiant, and it would also help bridge the disconnect between the administration and students. I also have a copy of this if any of you would like it.
Please.
Interested?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for bringing that information to our attention, and I'm sure our superintendent will instruct us on your request. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to address the board? Seeing none, we'll move forward with the remainder of our meeting, which we move to our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Kozire. At this time, before we begin our student recognition, I would like to let everyone know in the audience that May is the School Board Appreciation Month in Iowa. This year, the theme is Superheroes for Public Education. You will find at your table in front of you a certificate of appreciation, board members, as well as a token of our appreciation for your service. We have printed a set of note cards that feature our own students' artwork. We want to thank you for your dedication and the countless hours you volunteer your time. So thank you so much. And now we'll move on to student recognitions. If Ms. Ostrowski would join me at the podium. We have quite a few stars I see over there on that desktop, so we will begin to move through our recognition before we go to student achievement.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo. Members of the board, it's my pleasure to introduce to you a group of students first who have earned the designation of All-State in the Iowa Speech Contest. These students with us here tonight are among the best of the best in the state. They are joined, I believe, by their coaches here tonight. Raise your hand. There they are in the back. There's Dirk Waller and Abby Custer from TJ and Principal Dana Freidenberg. In order to qualify for All-State, these talented teenagers have advanced from districts to state and had judges deem the performance as outstanding. In a typical year, approximately 400 performances make All-State out of an original approximately 9,000. So again, the best of the best in the state. Dr. Murillo will be presenting the All-Staters with our district's Student Star Award, which is sponsored by our Council Bluffs Schools Foundation. We recognize these students from AL First who made All-State for their group improvisation performance. Ethan Jensen, please come forward. Hannah Gibson. Molly Higgins. There she is. And Molly's actually has two engraved notes on her star because she also received an individual All-State honor with her original oratory. So congratulations to Molly and Ethan and Hannah. And next, if we could invite Jeanette Rice. She won an individual award in storytelling. Jeanette. Sarah King won an individual award in poetry. Congratulations, Sarah. Mr. Kozire, would you like to be in a photo? Yeah. We'll take a quick photo of this illustrious group. And parents, feel free to come on up and don't be shy about getting closer. Takes a few extra minutes, but boy, is it fun to have the photos. I think we should all make them do their speeches. We might be here all night. Yes, congratulations. Thanks for representing us at the state level. And would the parents of these students just wave and let us see you and congratulate you? All right, 4 members of the district's class of 2019 are being honored by Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds as part of the Governor's Scholar Recognition Program. The programming recognizes students for consistent academic excellence during their high school careers. We will honor 2 recipients from Abraham Lincoln at the next meeting. They both had prior commitments through school. But tonight, we're excited to have with us tonight from Thomas Jefferson, Alexi Lakai and Morgan Gant. Please come forward and let us celebrate you. We have celebrated Alexi's appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy at a previous meeting. Morgan will be attending Grandview College, where she will play soccer and study computer science and math. Congratulations to you and to your parents. Please wave.
Christine, I couldn't go to that. I went to, had a baseball and a softball thing separate. That's awesome. Yeah, she probably.
We hope you all will display your stars proudly at your graduation parties. As you know, board members, in the Council Bluffs Community School District, we provide a variety of pathways towards success for students as they prepare for beyond high school. We began a few years ago with the tradition of recognizing students who have demonstrated success in earning a score worthy of a platinum honor on the National Career Readiness Certificate exam. The NCRC is accepted by more than 10,000 employers nationwide as a reliable way to really recognize individual work skills. The assessments are in the areas of applied math, reading for information, and locating information. So the platinum achievement indicates these young adults have the foundational workplace readiness skills for 99% of the occupations listed in the ACT Work Keys database. We have 18 honorees so far. As I call the names of the individuals who have earned this honor, would you please come forward to receive your star from Dr. Murillo, and we invite the parents to stand to be recognized as your child's name is called. Sierra Dogan. Okay. Kennedy Doty. Zachary Doty. Gabrielle Dorr. Juan Espinoza. Bethany Foley. Morgan Gant. Adding to your collection. Deshauna Johnson. Sam Killian. Andrew Larkin. Connor Mahood. Gavin Petrie. Benjamin Price. Okay, and I know he was receiving an award at another location tonight, and he's going to be here as soon as he can. Caleb Reber. Dean Riley. And Xavier Whitney. Okay. All right. Yes, please. Photo time, parents, don't be shy. And while you're doing that, I'm going to have Peyton Barnard's dad accept on her behalf. Come on up. Yeah, get in the photo and hold one. You were invited, so you were supposed to be here. Yeah. Is it Kane or Kane? Mariah Kane. We'll, we'll get you. We'll get you. And you're all welcome to take photos in front of the banner out in the hallway, and Daniel will be out there as well taking photos. So you're all welcome to do that, and we'll proceed with.
We will. We will. Thank you. How are you? Just fine. She just cleaned up last night. It's a clean sweep on almost everything.
We're ready with
I'm
the,
ready. Yes, I am.
okay.
And now we'll move on to our student achievement report. And I'm really excited about the first report. As many of you know that last January, we started our first cohort of early college academy students. And this evening, we are going to celebrate we have 11 here this evening, Dr. Borthman, 10? We have 10. One had their wisdom teeth pulled, correct, today, so could not attend. But we have 10 of our students in the cohort that will be here this evening to be recognized, and we are so excited about this presentation. This is the first of many. Dr. Borthman, the floor is yours.
Looks like we're waiting just one moment for a little congestion to clear out, and then we'll get started.
Okay.
As many of you, while Dr. Borthman is getting ready, might be aware of, they graduated last week.
Dr. Murillo, members of the Board of Education, it's my privilege to welcome tonight to our board meeting the Early College Academy class of 2019. Dr. Murillo, I'd ask you to join me at the podium tonight to honor these remarkable young people who are finishing up the first full cohort of the Early College Academy. It is with a great amount of honor and respect that I have for these young people who undertook a great academic load and really achieved the unthinkable just one short year ago when they entered into this program. And we're very proud of their efforts, the efforts of their parents for their support, as well as Mrs. Julie Smith and Dr. Spencer Matthews, who have guided them along this journey. So tonight we will be honoring our class of 2019. Our first graduate is Jade Baker from Abraham Lincoln High School. Jade earned an advanced nursing assistant certificate and will be attending Nebraska Methodist College next year, majoring in nursing.
Do you want to stand here until the end? Okay, perfect.
Our second graduate is Kaylee Brown from Thomas Jefferson High School. Kaylee earned an Associate of Arts in General Studies and will be pursuing a major in photojournalism at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. Our third graduate is Robert Carter from Abraham Lincoln High School. Robert earned a certificate in welding and will be continuing his education at Iowa Western Community College, studying construction technology. Next is Myron Correa from Thomas Jefferson High School. Myron earned an advanced nursing assistant certificate and will be continuing studying nursing at the University of Iowa. Next is Justin Harrington from Abraham Lincoln High School. Justin earned a welding certificate and will be pursuing a career in welding with the Steam Fitters Union. Our next graduate is Mario Kelsey from Abraham Lincoln High School. Mario earned a welding certificate and will be entering the career field in the area of welding. Macy Kephart from Abraham Lincoln High School. Macy could not be here tonight due to wisdom teeth, but she earned an advanced nursing certificate assistant and will be continuing her studies in nursing at Metro Community College. Charity McDaniel from Thomas Jefferson High School. Charity earned an Associate's of Science in Biological Sciences and will be attending Iowa State University, majoring in Animal Science. Our next graduate is Zach Potter from Abraham Lincoln High School. Zach earned an Associate of Arts in Communication Studies and will be continuing his education in sports media at the University of Nebraska in Lincoln. Our next graduate is Nathalia Ramirez from Abraham Lincoln High School. Nathalia earned an Associate of Arts in Psychology and will be studying psychology next year at Wayne State College. Please join me in congratulating the Early College Academy class of the Council Bluffs Community School District for 2019. We have two young people who have been chosen to share some of their perspective tonight. So we'll hear from them, and then we will ask the board if they have any questions of our graduates. So you guys can be seated. And I would ask Charity and Nathalia to come forward. Sorry, I knew I was going to get that wrong. Come on up.
Okay, so I guess I'm gonna go first. I'm Nathalia Ramirez, like they just said. I'm from Abraham Lincoln, and I want to say thank you to all of you for allowing this to happen. It honestly was an amazing opportunity, especially because not many people know this, but like not many people here go to college and pursue it, even though we have a college so close. And so I just feel so lucky to be able to go on this journey, even though it was so fast-paced and so hard and so many long nights. It was still amazing to go through. I was able to network and eventually pick my college with so much help from Spencer Matthews, being our advisor and everything. And it was just the best thing that happened to me so far. So thank you.
Okay, I actually prepared like a little speech, so I can just get it out. Okay. I would like to begin by expressing my gratitude towards the Early College Academy and the people who fund it. It's given me the opportunity to achieve a level of success that my high school could not provide me. I've always been the type of student who takes accelerated classes, and even in these courses, I was beginning to find boredom and lack of motivation, and I feel as if my peers were facing the same issue. The Early College Academy allowed me to take classes that actually challenged me academically, and they allowed me to further grow as a student. Furthermore, taking these classes has given me a larger goal to work towards, an associate's degree. This gave me the motivation that I was beginning to lack in my high school courses. For hardworking students like me and my fellow ECA peers, the Early College Academy has been invaluable. Besides the advanced coursework I was provided with during my time in the Early College Academy, I was also given the chance to enroll in classes that my high school did not offer. Some of these classes include things such as new media production, where I was able to write, direct, and produce my own short videos every week, and digital media production, where I learned how to create various types of digital art, such as graphic design and photo manipulation. These courses, among many others, are not offered at my high school, but helped me tremendously in learning skills that are crucial in the career that I'm pursuing. Having taken these classes, I am one step closer to beginning my career and achieving continual success. Although having access to these advanced coursework that is not available at my high school was a major opportunity, the most important factor of my ECA time was the money that it saved me and my family. I come from a middle-class household, and my parents' income is too high to qualify for the Potawatomi Promise or really any help from FAFSA, but it's also too low to pay for my college education. I also personally do not have the means to pay for my own college education. Our only plan before the Early College Academy was to take out tens of thousands of dollars in loans. So being part of the Early College Academy has set me 2 years ahead of my 4-year degree, which has taken a tremendous load off my family. Overall, I would like to say that this program has helped me and my family tremendously, and I would assume that my peers would agree. It's given me challenging coursework that has re-sparked my motivation for education and pushed me to succeed. It's also given me access to courses that have more directly prepared me for my continued education, career, and future as a whole. Finally, it has tremendously helped me and my family combat the financial weight of my college education. And with that, I would like to extend a final thank you to the school board for funding my time in the Early College Academy, and I'd like to recommend that they continue to offer the opportunity to future students.
Who would entertain any questions from the board for any of our graduates?
Questions?
If this wasn't in place, what would you have done?
Like I said, I would probably have to take out tens of thousands of dollars in loans and pursue my education on my own financial stability, which is not great, but I'm very thankful for this program.
Great answer.
Well, my question before this was, can you really graduate from college before you graduate from high school? But I guess you've answered that. What advice would you have for the Early College Academy class that will be starting next year?
Just to stay on track with the new lifestyle and the new scheduling for jobs that we're looking for. Just to stay on track and not to.
Good advice.
Okay. I guess I do one question. So, what do you think we should tell other kids about it? About the experience so that they want to join in? I mean, certainly saving money for college, be better prepared. But I mean, how do we spread that word amongst all the kids so that they would want to be part of something like this?
So for me, I know that it's a big campus and there's so many people and it's very frightening to many. But honestly, I felt so accepted by the professors, by the other students, that it honestly made it a lot better. And I know that's a lot of people's issues with going to a bigger school, even though it's in the same place. but there's also people that have graduated before you that are there, and it's just honestly just open, and you make so many friends, and it's amazing.
This is an enormous achievement. Y'all should be very proud of yourselves and what you've achieved.
Very
So,
impressive.
Congratulations
Thank
to
you.
all of you.
At this time, I would love for the board to take a picture with our first graduating class. So students, would you join us? And we'll figure out how to, we're gonna kind of do the shape of the. They make me emotional. Even in Kansas City, I used to get emotional. Oh my God. They'll be noted in
In the bulletins, yeah.
and then next year.
How does that happen?
Because we usually do the certificate, the work ready.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So we'll get that. Oh, man, that's great. I love that. And at this time, I'd like to invite Dr. Vorthman back to the podium. We are going to go through the student achievement. Our last bulleted item is Spring 2019 NWEA MAP results. Dr. Vorthman, the floor is yours.
That's a hard act to follow tonight, but believe it or not, I have some news that is almost as powerful as that tonight about student achievement in our school district, and I'm excited to share that with you tonight. So as Dr. Murillo said, we're going to spend some time talking about our Spring 2019 Measure of Academic Progress, or MAP, assessment results. But before we did that tonight, I want to take just a brief opportunity to update the board on some important tests that we've been working on over the past couple of weeks, including finishing up this week at middle school. And that's our new Iowa assessment, or better known as the Iowa Statewide Assessment of Student Progress, or the ISASP. The ISASP is the replacement to the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, or the Iowa Test of Educational Development, or the Iowa Assessments. This is generation, I believe, 4 of that assessment regimen. And so all students in grades 3 through 11 participate in this statewide test that's used for accountability in the state of Iowa. And they take a battery of assessments in mathematics, reading, and science, and new this year, writing. This is really the first attempt that the state of Iowa has made at using a non-pencil and paper form assessment. And so the school districts were offered the choice this year whether they wanted to take the computerized version or a pencil and paper version. We elected in our school district to overwhelmingly test with the computer, primarily because we had experience doing so with the MAP test, as well as a history, especially at the secondary level, with using computerized assessments through our Edulastic platform for district end-of-course assessments. Just a few notes of caution that I wanted to provide a heads up for the board regarding the administration. As with the new assessment, the State Department was very feverishly providing technical assistance on the fly. And a lot of decisions were made in real time regarding test administration, accommodations, testing irregularities, processes and procedures for administering and collecting assessments. And in many cases, it depended on who you talked to as to what kind of answer you got. And thankfully, we had Dr. Marty Shudak, who really did a tremendous job of ushering the support all the way through this process, and really has put together a seamless administration and professional support system for our teachers so that they felt confident in their proctoring, and we felt confident in the results that we got from the assessment. Surprisingly, we and several other school districts noticed errors on the test, and we can assume that this probably was because of the quick nature of the rollout of the assessment. But for example, in a third grade assessment, we were told to ask students to cross out words in a question to change the actual question prompt. At fourth grade, we alerted Iowa Testing to the inability of students to submit a section of the test until one of the questions was answered correctly. So students had to go back and resubmit it until they got the question in the correct order, or it wouldn't allow them to move on to the next section. Those are the ones that we know about. We believe there may be more, or maybe there aren't any more. We don't know. But we did report those 2 errors to the state as well, and they were known issues that the testing vendor had identified. Lastly, we do know that the results will be delayed until the fall of 2019. And the reason for that is because this test has not been field tested before, although items themselves have been. There's been no standard scale setting or validation for this test yet. So all of that will have to be done before we can get some results from this test. And we've been told to anticipate September or October for results from this year's assessment. So wanted to provide that update and answer any questions that you might have about Iowa assessment administration before we move on to spring MAP data.
I'm assuming those same errors exist on the paper pencil test. It's not
Correct.
one version or the other.
That's correct. The one difference is the pencil paper test. You don't get the option to drop and drag and reorder them before you can go on to the next section. It was a fixed form assessment so that it's not the exact same item, it's a similar item in the pencil and paper test.
So it's a different test.
It's the same questions, just manipulated differently.
So the tests have been field tested, but field tests missed the things that were discovered?
We believe
Would
that
be
must
fair
have
to
been the
say?
case. I don't know if all the items were field tested, but it's very common for Iowa testing to include field test items on previous administrations of the assessment. We have always done field testing in our district because we get a reduced rate for the administration cost of the test if we're willing to field test items at the end of the test.
Who was the vendor again? I forget
The vendor is Iowa Testing, is the provider, and it's dispersed by Pearson.
Pearson, okay.
They work together.
And the feedback is reviewed by Iowa Department of Education?
Yeah, we've provided much feedback to the Iowa Department of Education. Dr. Shudak has a
Running
regular
list.
contact with members of both a contact on Pearson on the deployment side and on the administration side at Iowa Testing.
So with some questions in the reliability of the exam in of itself, then we shouldn't necessarily be held to a standard of the results of that exam if it's not a completely reliable exam. Would that be fair to say?
I don't know what the fall is going to bring.
No. But we do
We
know.
look forward to hearing about it.
Right, we do know that the reason that we are working really hard to take this test seriously is this will be the results they use for ESSA.
Correct.
And
Right.
so, but they will take an account, and I'm hoping what they'll do is to pull out the questions that weren't valid and then score in norm, which means they'll have to do another
Setting.
norm setting next year as well.
I guess it would not, it's just disappointing when
It is.
the faculty and the students work so hard and prepare rigorously for this exam, and there's flaws.
And the anxiety that builds up, you know.
While
I
they're
see it.
taking
I
the
see it at
test.
home.
Yeah, I agree.
Our children, they want to do well.
Yes, very much so.
Thank you
Yep.
for being transparent.
So let's talk a little bit about MAP testing, or measures of academic progress. And if you recall, this was the assessment that we started in the spring of 2018 with our initial cohort testing in both mathematics and reading. And we are looking at the MAP test through really two lenses. One is a performance-based lens where we look at the percentage of students who score at a particular cut score and above to help us identify how well student achievement is going in our school district. And then we look at what we're calling growth, MAP growth. So we identify what percentage of students are, first of all, meeting their growth targets, and secondly, showing growth. Now, when we say meeting growth targets, what we're talking about is the number of RIT score points that a student is projected to grow based on their previous performance. So for every single student in math and reading, MAP sets a target for that individual student based on where they performed. And over millions and millions and millions of assessments, they have been able to predict with great certainty how much that student is projected to grow based on their previous performance. And so we have a pretty good identification of how much students should be growing between each administration period. And so what we bring to you tonight is the percentage of the students who met that target. The second measure that we look at is, are students showing some growth? If they didn't make their individual growth target, were they close? Did they show some type of progress between the administration windows? And we want to share with you the percentage of students who did that as well. So this data that I'm going to share with you tonight is correlated to goal 1 of the superintendent's goals for this year. And just as a refresher, our targets were set so that we would, over the course of the next 3 years, by 2021, work toward 80% of our students demonstrating performance at the average, high average, or high levels on MAP in reading and mathematics. Now, we set 80% as a stretch goal. MAP told us that we should set our target at 50%. We set it at 80 for a very specific reason. Our goal over the last several years has been to make sure that all students benefit from high-quality core instruction in the classroom. And we know that when 80% of our kids, all of our kids, are TAG students, are English language learners, are students that receive special education services, when we get all of our students scoring at least 80% or above, we'll know that the core instruction in our classrooms is meeting their needs. So that's why that target is set so high. Secondly, we wanted 50% of our students to absolutely hit or exceed their projected growth target. And our expectation in the Council Bluffs Community School District is that every child grows. 100% of our students will show some growth between testing periods in reading and mathematics. So I want to share some celebrations with you tonight from our first year of testing. First of all, when we look at performance in mathematics, we look at the district as a whole, on average, we improved by 1.5% when compared to the spring of 2018 in the area of mathematics. And so the reason that is such a great celebration is we expect, on average, to see about 1 to 1.5% growth annually to see stable, predictable, and sustainable academic achievement. It's what research tells us we should predict. What we don't want to see is peaks and valleys. We don't want to see erratic student achievement because that tells us that there is something awry in the system. What we want to see is incremental gains every single year. And 1.5% progress every year over date will help us continue to make student achievement climbs in a predictable and sustainable way. So this is a great celebration. It hit exactly where we would want to see. We're not moving backwards, we are moving forwards. To highlight this a little bit more, I wanted to dig into some of our cohort level data. So you'll see on the screen by individual cohorts or grade levels on the bottom what the performance was of students from the spring of 2019 or 2018 up to the spring of 2019 among the students who scored in those top 3 bands. And you can see that almost all of our grade levels perform at or near 50%. Remember, that's what NWA said we should expect, but we're pushing towards that 80%. I do want to note, as I put in your board packet, that the second grade scores we know have some discrepancy to them. And that was, as I told you in the winter, we made a change in the administration of second grade for this winter and spring testing periods. Second grade can either be tested with the kindergarten and first grade group, or they can be tested with the 2nd through 5th grade group. The 2nd through 5th grade being a much more rigorous, independent paced exam. And we made that decision because we wanted to make sure our students had an opportunity to experience that rigor before they got into 3rd grade. We also know that it had an adverse impact on looking at their scores, especially when we compared them to the K2 test in the spring of 2018. So we're monitoring that, and we will be looking at the data more closely to determine what we should do for next year, whether we continue to go with the 2-5 test or we allow second graders to take the K2 test. We just want to make sure we get an accurate snapshot of how well those students are being served and what their performance looks like over time. In terms of growth, this is a great celebration for us. The goal that we had set earlier in the year was that 50% of our students would meet their individual growth targets. And 2 years early, 50% of the students met their growth targets in mathematics. So that goal has already been achieved. So now we have to start thinking about what our stretch goal might be because we're 2 years early. But you can see that aside from second grade, we are either at or above 50% in every grade level. And some grade levels really surprised us, like 8th grade, which really shot high. And we attribute that middle school performance being exceptionally high. We believe that could be because we have a new mathematics series that we put into place this year in middle school. And this is our initial implementation year of elementary, which we see a little bit of variance, more so than what we would like to see over time. You also notice on this chart, and several others in the future regarding growth, you don't see 11th grade on those charts. And the reason for that is because there is no growth measure for 11th graders because there's no 12th grade test to predict performance. So you'll see that that one is not on the growth charts. In the next slide, it shows the percentage of students who showed any growth from the spring of 2018 to the spring of 19 test. And what we see in both reading and mathematics is that our elementaries perform relatively high. In fact, some grade levels tipping near or up towards 100% of the kids. That's all kids. Our kids that are talented and gifted, our kids that are English learners, our kids that are in special education. But we have some pinch points, specifically transition grades. 6th grade and 9th grade specifically, students did not perform as well in terms of making some growth. And that is alarming, that we still have work to do in helping students ease that transition between grade levels. But generally, overall, kids are making a lot of growth, especially in elementary, slowing down in middle school, and slowing down even further in high school. The biggest celebration of the night is in the area of reading. So when we look at reading performance, which has been where we've put our energy over the past 5 years, and really going after a new series in reading, redoing our curriculum, getting more focused on early intervention, we saw nearly 5% improvement in reading scores from spring of 2018 to spring of 2019. That's 3 times what we would expect to see. That has me excited and nervous at the same time. I would rather see 1.5%, maybe 2% achievement over time to see that slow, steady climb of student achievement. But I think this shows that we are doing some of the right things, especially in reading, and that we're getting after, I don't know that we've figured it out, but we're getting after some of the core issues that we had that were in our curriculum. Performance in reading looks much like it did in math, although the difference being we saw some higher performance in elementary than we did at secondary, but our secondaries really came through in reading performance this year. In fact, one of our buildings nearly touched 80% in 2 different grade levels. That is outstanding, because that tells me that that 80% goal really is not that unattainable. It can happen. We do see also in this chart, I wanted to point out that one of our highest grade level performances was at 11th grade. And if you remember over the past 5 years, you've all shook your finger at me about 11th grade assessment on Iowa assessments. Why does it fall off 15%? And I've always said, I think there's something wrong with that assessment at 11th grade. It doesn't make sense to me. Well, MAP confirms that our students just don't tank at 11th grade in language arts. We have reliable data points, now 4 data points in a row that show that 11th grade achievement on the MAP test is parallel to their peers, unlike the Iowa assessment showed us. So that makes me feel maybe that we didn't have something completely wrong that we needed to fix, but maybe the assessment was misleading us a little bit, and MAP was able to confirm that. When we talk about growth in reading, we are just shy of that 50% point. Reading targets met in growth targets met in reading was 48%, so we didn't hit that goal, but we're knocking on it. And once again, our concern is at high school. 9th and 10th grade did not show as many students meeting the growth targets as elementary. Now, one of the things I want to caution us on is that as students progress and the RIT score climbs, the target gets narrower and narrower and narrower and narrower. So where an elementary student may have a growth target of 7, a high school may have a growth target of 2, depending on how they score. And you'll see that as our performance increases, it's harder and harder and harder to hit the growth targets because they're more aggressive, because they have to score at higher levels, which is a good thing to have. It encourages us to continue to push those advanced and upper level learners because their targets are the ones that are hardest to hit. And I believe you heard a little bit about that tonight in your work study session with the data consults, about some of the things we're working through at College View and Hoover. Some great growth going on, especially at the elementary area and even into the middle school area, where we're pushing up and over 80% of our kids showing some growth during the school year. 9th grade continues to be a problem. And I'm happy to report that you're going to hear a little bit later on tonight one of the solutions that we have that we're proposing that may help us with some of the issues that happened during 9th grade and transitioning to 9th grade as well. So just a few key points, a few key takeaways tonight from our spring 2019 MAP results. First of all, reminder, this is our baseline year. This is where we're kind of setting the ground, and we'll be using this data to work from and set goals as we continue to improve. And this computer adapted assessment is really our first time for putting students in that testing environment where the test either levels up or down based on their performance. And that has been somewhat difficult for some students who are used to being finished in 15 minutes, but now are maybe taking 30 or 40 minutes. So it's really trying to hone in on what is that precise level of performance by student so that we have good data to go back then and improve instructional outcomes for those students specifically. We had above average growth performance in mathematics and reading from 2017-18 to 2019-20. That is huge. We could not be more pleased with being able to report to the board that we are making progress. And in fact, over 50% of our students met their individual targets, which is a huge celebration for our teachers and students and the work that they've done. I talked about second grade, and we're going to continue to monitor that to figure out where that sweet spot is so that we get good actionable data that allows us to make good choices for those second graders. And just a reminder that this is not MAP is not the solution. But what it does do is give us good, actionable, reliable data in order to evaluate the effectiveness of our curriculum and instructional programs, but also to determine where students need additional support and how we can adjust instruction along the way to make sure that we meet their needs. So a few key next steps. First of all, we are always in a continuous improvement loop of making sure that we analyze the data, look at trends and patterns over time to see if there are gaps or holes in our curriculum that we need to adjust to make sure that we're setting students up for success. Secondly, we will continue to provide professional learning opportunities for our teachers and administrators on making sure that the MAP becomes a routine part of their instructional decision making so that they're able to sit down with students with their grade level PLCs and make really solid decisions about what's next for student achievement in their building. And then lastly, we will use this data in a multitude of ways over the next year, and you'll see it in our school improvement plans. You'll hear about it in our data consult work that Mr. Schultz, Mrs. Smith do with our individual principals. You'll hear it from principals when they talk about the coaching conversations that they're having with their supervisors, and then it will help guide the conversations that we have as a district about how we should set goals for our comprehensive school improvement plan for the 19-20 school year. So at this time, I would welcome any questions that you might have about the 2019 spring MAP data.
When we look at 1.5% increase and 4.6%, what does that equate to in numbers? How many students took the assessment in 2018 and again in 2019?
We had just shy of 8,000 students that took the assessment. So
So that makes 1.5 and 4.6 pretty impressive.
pretty
yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
And remember, that's all students. We don't
Right.
just test the students that are in the general education environment. We test all of our kids. They're included in this data.
Are the wonders, and I forget the math curriculum.
Bridges.
Would you say that this assessment data is looking at students who went through, I know it's not true for Bridges, but went through the Wonders curriculum fully implemented where you want it to be, or should we expect that that's gonna have an even greater impact
I
moving
think we
forward?
will start to see even greater results. Our fourth grade this year is the first class that had 4 years of, our third grade had 4 years of Wonders instruction. They were the class that started with kindergarten 3 years ago.
A question on I guess on some of our targets and things, so our big goal of 80%. What would that take us to get in annual growth to get there? About 4 to 5 or 6 or 10 or, just curious. It's a pretty big number.
We talked about that this morning. It is a big hill to climb. But what I'm encouraged by is looking beyond the averages. Remember, an average takes everybody and pulls them together, and you see kind of from a 30,000-foot view what the data looks like. Excuse me. But when we start unpacking that data a little bit, what we start to see is we have classrooms that had 100% of their kids meet their growth targets. We had grade levels, entire grade levels, where 80% of their kids made the performance goal. We have entire grade levels in a building where every kid grew. So I don't think it's impossible. In fact, I know it's possible because it's being done. Our challenge is, how do we get it so it's being done in every classroom, across every grade level, in every building in our school district? That's the challenge.
Yeah, you know, this year we had, I think our final map testing, was that close to our ISASP?
Correct.
So kids felt like, wow, there's a lot of tests over
Yeah.
this, you know,
Yeah,
short
we
period of
corrected that
time.
for next year.
Okay, good.
Iowa assessments will occur earlier in the spring, and MAP will occur about the same time.
Okay.
We'll be testing at the end of March, early April for our Iowa assessments next year. We just did not feel that we had, well, frankly, there was not enough confidence in the state assessment this year to administer it early in the school year. We waited. We are one of the last school districts to test in the state on the Iowa assessment, and we did that intentionally. We wanted to make sure if there were bugs to be worked out, that everybody else worked them out before they got to us.
And I guess how do we, I mean, how are we trying to adjust, is it just trying to figure out what's going on there between those transition years? Sixth and some things didn't look too rough, you know, ninth had some struggles. You know, do we feel that, I guess we're putting the proper rigor in the ninth grade to keep that up, or is it just that transition year when kids are trying to figure out what's going on and there's a lot
I
of
wish I had a silver
problems
bullet
there?
answer to that. It's all of the above. When we looked at, took some time last week in our department to look at specific growth targets and what the national averages look like, what does the norm group look like, what does our district look like, and you look at the MAP data, the norm data itself, it shows a dip at 6th grade and 9th grade. So, not that misery loves company, but we're not alone in this challenge of transition years. And unfortunately, when students go from a very self-contained classroom to moving between classes, that's difficult. And it seems like it takes us a year to rebound. It takes us until 7th and sometimes 8th grade to get back to where we were in 5th grade. And then the same thing seems to happen at 9th grade. And so I think it is an all the above answer.
I guess one final question then, for us to achieve that 100% goal
Yeah.
of growth, do we need somewhere in the 60s or what 70s? What do we need for a growth target to have everybody? I mean, I kind of hate, it's like we're looking at it backwards because it's really showing our kids are doing the right things, our teachers are doing the right things, and instruction and curriculum is working. But it's putting all the emphasis on that kind of score and how it comes out, you know?
Yeah, I guess the thing that I'm encouraged about regarding growth targets is that they are individualized based on the ability of every learner. So if you all had a growth target, they would all be different. They would all be based on what you are predicted to be able to do. And so I'm not ashamed at all that we are pushing the expectation for our students in our classrooms, and that we're asking them to work toward a target. Will we get to 100%? I don't know. But it's hard for me to look in the eye of any of you as board members or any of our parents in our community and say that we don't expect all of our students to make growth during the year, because I do.
And how do we express this or communicate this with the public so they understand why we're doing all the testing and why
Yeah.
we're so
So
passionate about
just
this?
wait. Coming out with the report cards this year will be a beautiful flyer that has the students' projected scores, their growth targets, and how they compare to the norm group that was tested, and where we project their achievement to be over the next testing period. With an explanation not only of their projected growth targets, but also the areas in which they had strengths and the areas in which they need to improve. And so we're really trying to put together some comprehensive materials that can go with the grade cards. The teachers and parents can both work together in understanding how we can use this data to improve the achievement.
Very good, thank you.
Congratulations to everybody on their success. Sounds like.
Congratulations to our
it's been a
teachers
great-
and our
yeah,
students.
Sure, yep, that's pretty awesome. The snapshot communication that will go home, is that just one-way communication, or is there an ability for them to look at additional resources as a parent to see where my child scored and I could go
Yes.
here to this website?
So I will tell you that we are not quite there. There is an online portal.
Okay.
Um,
Additional electronic resources. I
Yes,
guess,
there is an
what I-
online portal which we are looking at trying to figure out a way to link that into a one-stop shop so that when students log into, or parents log into PowerSchool, they also have the option to be automatically logged into their students' map performance.
Awesome.
And we're not there yet,
Okay.
but we will be.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
presentation.
Thank you so much. And before Dr. Worthman leaves, I think we should just move on to our informational presentation because he's going to set the stage for our 2019 summer learning update. I thought it would be really good for the board to see where we are and the great things we have planned for this summer and the activities. And also, I think Carly will take us a little deeper into our 9th grade LIFT program. So Dr. Worthman?
Thank you. It's my pleasure tonight to bring to you some information about our summer learning programming. And presenting tonight will be Carly Gates. She's the coordinator of summer learning for the Council Bluffs Community School District. And then on deck to answer any questions that you might have specific to individual programs, we'll be joined tonight by Ms. Lori Duran. She's our coordinator for special education, and Mr. Greg Smith from Kids and Company at the Council Bluffs Community Schools Foundation.
Thank you, Dr. Worthman. Good evening.
Good evening.
First and foremost, I just want to say thank you to all of you, as well as the Iowa West Foundation and the 21st Century Community Learning Centers grant for your continued support of summer learning in the district. I recently heard someone speak on summer programming, and they said, I see summer not as a problem, but as an opportunity. And I thought that that quote was really powerful. It reminded me that we, as a district, also see summer learning as an opportunity. It's an opportunity for continuous learning. It's an opportunity to engage students with our community and to continue to provide students with a safe place, as well as nutritious meals and experiences that will accelerate their pathway to success. So this is a diagram that shows the different programs that help to support students during the summer. And today I would like to present some information to you about each of these opportunities for 2019. So first, we have our Elementary Camp Summer Explore program. This will continue to be a 6-week program that's focused on reading achievement. It includes core reading instruction in the morning and then engaging electives with our community partners in the afternoons. As we looked at trends in our previous data and considered that summer programs run anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, we knew that a 10% increase in most of our areas would be significant but a fair goal. So our target for this program is to increase by 10% the average reading success probability as measured by the RAPID assessment. And the RAPID is a universal screener through Lexia that measures a student's foundational skills in reading. And then that assessment is then analyzed by the Iowa Reading Research Center. So we were able to meet our 10% goal in 2018, in the summer of 2018, and so we look forward to continued success this summer. The goal for this summer is to enroll 366 students in the program in grades 1 through 5. This is a similar goal to 2018, and it also includes 20% over enrollment in order to factor in the possible attendance challenges that we often see during the summer. So we're currently 93% full for this program, which is very exciting. Next, we have our secondary programs. So the Middle School Camp Summer Explore will continue to be offered at the Henry Dorley Zoo. There will be 2 3-week sessions that will be focused on social-emotional self-perception. We know how important social-emotional learning is to all of our students, especially those at the middle level. And our partners at the zoo are actually also working to integrate more social-emotional learning into their annual programs, so it's been a very natural fit. Our target is to increase by 10% the average social and emotional learning perception of students as measured by the Panorama data from spring to fall. So in this program, students are engaged in project-based learning that integrates all of the subject areas. It allows for students to really become the scientists as they observe and collect data and solve problems. They're regularly attending excursions to our community partners and learning from a variety of experts in a variety of different places. Our target for enrollment for this program is 330 students. The first session is completely full, and there are just a few spots left in the second session. So at the high school level, we will offer 2 programs. The first is Credit Recovery, hosted at Thomas Jefferson in June. And teachers in this program really use a blended learning style that will include online learning or direct instruction, but whatever is needed to best meet the students' needs in order to recover those credits. We know that both our enrollment and the number of credits needed to recover can vary based on the student need. So our target for this is to increase by 10% the number of credits earned per student. And we will continue our second year of the Freshman Transition Program, known as LIFT, Leveraging Youth on the Freshman Team, hosted at both high schools in July. So there will be 3 one-week sessions at each high school that are focused on creating a smooth transition that leads to that high school success that we were talking about earlier. So students actually earn partial elective credit for attending this program. And last summer we discussed the importance of this program and how we wanted to set a goal to enroll even more students. Last year we served about 100 students, and I'm pleased to say that this year we have currently enrolled 200 students. So we've doubled the enrollment from last year, which is very exciting. And our target for this is to ensure that 100% of the students that attend this program are on track to graduate after their freshman year. So students participate in a curriculum that includes learning about the importance of credits. It's touring the building without the distraction of the upperclassmen, working with peers to develop really strong study habits, and also just working to alleviate those stresses that come with this transition year. So these activities are really going to help the students to understand the importance of staying on track, and it's just a really exciting addition to our district summer programs. The special education department will continue to offer extended school year services focused on IEP, reading, writing, and math goals. Students will collaborate with community partners to improve their life skills, and a multidisciplinary staff will work with the students to make sure that they're successful over the 3-week program. And students with IEP goals may also be eligible for the Camp Summer Explore program. So one highlight of this process is that the coordinator of special education and I can work together during the enrollment season to make sure that students are in the program that best fits their needs. And finally, Kids and Company will be open for summer care every day, and really focused on providing another safe and enriching environment during out-of-school hours. So full-day programs are offered at Wilson and Longfellow this summer, but wraparound services are also provided at Bloomer for extended care for our Camp Summer Explore students. So we really appreciate our partnership with the Council of Schools Foundation and Kids and Company, because parents are able to enroll their students in the summer program because this service is available, and they may not be able to otherwise. And here are just some highlights that we wanted to make sure to let you know about for the summer of 2019. First is National Summer Learning Week. This is July 8th through the 13th. And according to the National Summer Learning Association, National Summer Learning Week is really a celebration that's dedicated to the advocacy and awareness of elevating the importance of keeping kids learning, keeping them safe and healthy every summer, and just ensuring that they return to school ready in the fall. So this year, each day will focus on a new theme, including literacy, STEM, the arts, college and career readiness, and health and nutrition. We are also excited about putting additional efforts into family engagement. We know how important it is for students to be talking with their families about the learning that they're experiencing. So conversation starters will actually be sent home to parents each week that will engage the students and parents in conversations about the students' learning during summer programs. So for example, during the freshman transition program, students are going to take home a daily prompt that will relate to the theme that they encounter that day. So for example, questions might include, when was the last time that you overcame an obstacle? Or what does success mean to you? So these prompts are going to give parents and students the opportunity to hear different perspectives. And it'll really allow the parent to see the perspective and further insight of their student. And lastly, we want to make sure that you're aware of some important dates this summer. First, the elementary open house will be Friday, June 7th at Bloomer Elementary. And this open house really gives parents and students the opportunity to tour the building and meet the teachers, keeping in mind most of the students attending don't necessarily attend Bloomer during the regular school year. The high school summer graduation will be on Friday, June 28th at 1 p.m. in the TJ Auditorium. And the middle level showcase will be on July 26th at 1 p.m. at the Henry Dorley Zoo in the auditorium. So we hope to see you at one or all of these events. And thank you so much for your time. If you have any questions, myself, Lori, or Greg are here to answer.
Questions from the board? Bill, do you have?
Not really a question, just commendation. I think it's impressive what you put together for their summer school. I've really been proud of our district for providing that over the years. I don't know if parents realize how fortunate they are. So well done, thank you.
Thanks.
I also would say thanks for the ninth grade enrollment increase. I think we talked about that time. It was like, why don't all ninth graders have to go through this? And obviously, seeing the growth, and I think that somewhere down the road, we'll probably get to that where our kids have that experience and then are propelled forward in high school. So thank you very much for working on that. Great.
Yeah.
In the elementary and middle school programs, how are students selected or
Yeah.
referred?
So in the elementary program, students qualify based on their FAST assessment. So we have, Dr. Shudak works to, put together the cutoff scores for which students would qualify. Obviously, the students who qualify for the program are those who need further assistance with the reading achievement. And at the middle level, any of our middle level students can sign up for that program.
Okay, so it's first come, first served.
It is, yep. Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much.
And that concludes our presentations today. Thank you so much.
Brings us to our, the business portion of this meeting, our resolutions that we need to attend to. First off, we have the approval of our Kern Middle School renovation. Is there a motion?
Move to approve Hausman Construction as the winning bidder of bid 19-008 for the Kern Middle School renovation project.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Do we need, excuse me, do we need to specifically mention the alternate bids in the motion, or does it matter?
Said as presented in the packet, I suppose.
Yeah, it's been, as is presented, because the motion is there.
Well, we could detail that, I guess.
Sure.
It's base bid of 14,459,000 and 5 alternates totaling the 231,000 for a total cost of 14,690,690.
Thank you.
The total bid includes all the alternates. The way I understand it.
Right,
Right.
right.
Good.
And it's under what was budgeted originally.
Okay, hearing no further discussion, we'll move to vote on the approval of the Kern Middle School renovation contract. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
And I've opened online voting if you want to vote that way. Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. For us now is the Madison campus integrated video bid. Is there a motion?
I can move that we approve, we award the bid 19-106 to Miller Electric Company in the amount of $256,900.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Access control keyless or?
My goal this first Wendy to be cool.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ogres, I didn't hear the question.
Hello, Mr. Finger, how are you?
Good to see you
Oh,
again.
yes. Would it be digital access to get in, or are we dealing
Yes,
with
this will
keys?
be digital or proximity card access to designated doors, also door position switches on all doors, and integrated video that captures the coming and going of anybody who goes through any door. And some particular doors may be alarmed from the inside with crash bars that delay
Perfect.
in designated locations. And this bid covers both Madison campus and Kern.
Ooh, nice. Okay.
And this meets future needs of the building and
Yes, this is the direction now. Mr. Finger, are we going with an ID card? Are we still having to use the key card?
We are hopeful that we will be able to create a single ID and key card. We haven't received those yet from Miller Electric. I think they might be more forthcoming after tonight. But the goal is to have one card rather than two, but that's not 100% for sure.
In the past, we've had problems with key costs. Have we talked about what we're gonna do if they lose their badge?
Well, the positive piece about the badge is it should be cheaper, and we can shut that off immediately.
Right.
And even if we have an issue where we have to remove someone's keys, by removing the badge will be easier.
Sure.
But my hope is it becomes part of the badge and not an additional key thing.
That's also my hope.
And I really appreciate Mr. Fringer going out there and really working to get this system, because this is a system I would love to see district-wide. If we have an emergency,
Oh, for
you are
sure.
not waiting for someone to open a door to let you in. You arrive on scene, hit that with that key card, and you're in. And that is powerful versus waiting. The other piece is being able to track who goes in and who goes out, being able to know who's in the building by using the key card. There's a lot of safety features, and I really appreciate also Mr. Fringer being open-minded to like a few second delay once a child hits the door to go out. That allows us time to respond, but if a student would leave the premise without permission.
And would those specific doors have cameras on them? to-
Yeah, all
okay,
the
to
doors have
identify?
cameras on them, but those delay doors, it's a lot like what you see in the airport. You
Yep.
know, if you hit the crash bar, you get about 10 seconds of a really loud alarm, which allows adults to come to the door before the door opens. And typically, when fire alarms are activated, that automatically disarms, and you can go straight through when the fire alarm's active. But,
so
and
then
again,
this-
that's not every exterior door, that's specific ones, but we do have some doors in our district where kids, the runners go out, whether that be little ones or, middle school or high school kids that are just sneaking out. So that should prevent some of those doors that are hard to supervise by adults.
And then this is, are these doors that, I assume they don't require, like they don't disallow piggybacking of getting into the,
Correct.
but they wouldn't stop, like I have a campus where everything shuts down and that would be crazy to, School.
It does still require monitoring of the doors, and piggybacking or tailgating is still possible.
Will our first responders, local first responders have a key card as well in case of an emergency? Have we
That's
investigated
a good
that?
question. There's no reason that couldn't be done. There's also electronic controls on the doors that would allow us to unlock, for example, the building at Madison from anywhere in the district
Right.
electronically. So if EMS was rolling there and we desired that all the doors be unlocked, we could do that electronically from anywhere. The camera systems that we currently use are available to EMS, to fire and police as well. It's a little bit difficult getting to them, so it really requires the 911 center to do that for the folks in the field, but we're hoping this system's easier to use. It's also the same system that Iowa Western has implemented on all of their campuses, which allows us some collaboration opportunities there. They do monitor 24/7 all of their campuses, and they have, residence halls and those types of things, so they have security on-site and monitoring, so that gives us an opportunity, potentially, there's no agreement at this point, but a way that we could, share some monitoring at off hours.
The excitement, Mr. Myers in Kansas City could sit in meetings if we had an issue, run everything right off of his phone, even from climate. Like if there was a building too hot or too cold, you just flip that phone up and start changing temperatures in buildings, and Mr. Fringer's gonna get there. We are gonna get there.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Fringer.
Bet.
Okay. No further discussion. We'll move to the vote on the approval of the Madison campus and current access control and integrated video bid as presented. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Abstain. I'm actually employed by Miller Electric.
Okay. And Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. For us now is a change order as part of the Trade Works Academy. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve change order number 1 for the TradeWorks Academy in the amount of $28,880.67 to O'Neill Electric Company in Red Oak, Iowa.
Approve that.
We have motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
And this is due to the fact that we've changed out the welding for the new systems and we need the additional power.
We'll move to the vote then. Before us now is the vote on the change order, number 1, for the Trade Works Academy. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. We now have a time for setting the public hearing for the 1819 budget amendment. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I would make a motion to direct the board secretary to schedule a public hearing on May 28th, 2019 at 6:30 PM regarding an amendment to the 2018-2019 budget.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would say that I like the public comment here that budget modification will not affect property tax levy rate, nor will we receive extra funds, so.
Thank you. Before us now is the vote on the public hearing, setting a time and date for the public hearing of the 1819 budget amendment. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, the motion has been approved. Now we have a memorandum of understanding with Green Hills AEA. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve the MOU agreement with Green Hills AEA for the 2019-2020 school year as presented.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
And we have a second now. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote on approving the memorandum of understanding between Green Hills AEA for the school year 2019-2020. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Next up is an investment program resolution.
I'll move to approve the TELF Plus program under the management of Miles Capital under Iowa Code 12C as the investment program for the general obligation bond proceeds. Based upon Miles Capital professional advice, the board approves the financial depositories listed on the resolution. The board further authorizes and directs the superintendent and board treasurer to carry out the intent of this resolution.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
We're gonna get rich off this, huh?
Maybe we can
Yeah, explain to
provide
me
an
this.
explanation.
Sure. So we, on May 1st, we received a little over $28 million of general obligation bond proceeds. And since we're not going to be using all the $28 million immediately, we wanted to invest some of it so we could earn some interest on the proceeds. So we sent out for bid to TELF, which is the Education Liquidity Fund, and also to two other One was a bank and the other one was another investment vehicle, in order to provide us the best rate. We believe that based upon the schedule of withdrawals down, which can vary, because we don't know how quickly they're gonna get some things done, that the district could earn upwards of about $700,000 of additional interest income that could be used for the project as well. So that is the intent of this resolution, and this is the resolution to select TELF as the investment vehicle.
Satisfied the,
That's what I understood.
there you go.
Fine.
There you go. Okay,
This is separate from the money market fund resolution.
Yes.
These are some sort of structured CD ladders, is that what this is here? I'm looking.
Yeah, on the TELF program, it is a structured CD ladder. They will keep some money in the next one that is up for approval is the Institutional Money Market Fund. This is the fund where the proceeds are being transferred into, and then they'll be transferred out of there into the CD ladders. But they'll always keep probably around $3 to $5 million in there in order to meet our needs to withdraw the funds when we need them for the construction project.
Okay, and so these are, I guess it doesn't really show like maybe it doesn't, how they're doing this, but.
No, it doesn't show how they're
saying it's
doing it.
good.
What it's doing is
Fair
that it lists the
return.
banks down, and it shows what the maximum
All
would
those
be in
little-
those.
Okay.
Correct,
And they invest in all those
correct.
accordingly to this.
Yeah, Miles Capital will do that for us.
Okay. And this is assumptions, or they're gonna get these rates?
No, we are gonna get those rates based upon the current market.
Okay.
What's could challenge us is that if we had to take out more for a draw rather than less, that will affect how much interest we're gonna earn.
Right. Okay.
okay. With that, we'll move to the roll call for the approval of the TELF Plus Investment Program as presented. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Dr. Ogres,
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
and Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Now we have a resolution regarding the money market fund. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the superintendent and board treasurer are wrong. 1 second. Yep. Authorized to invest funds in accordance with Iowa Code 12810, and the board president is authorized to enter into an investment advisory agreement with Miles Capital to assist in the investments and to execute, attest and deliver any and all documents, and do any of all things deemed necessary to carry out the intent and purposes of this resolution. The superintendent and board treasurer are further authorized to select investments in accordance with the district's investment policy and in accordance with Iowa law, including a money market mutual fund under Iowa Code Section 128.10.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Sure.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
I guess just for me, this would seem to be a little bit different departure from us, away from bank-specific money market funds into, Franklin or whatever type of institutional money market fund we have, correct?
So, you remember in the past, they had that IJAG? We had
Yes.
IJAG here. This is very similar to IJAG.
Okay.
And this money market account is the vehicle where we have to transfer the money in and then transfer the money out. That's why it required 2 resolutions under Iowa code.
Then they will seek just to get the highest rate of return for that based on what's available at that time.
Yeah, I said IJAG, I meant IceJet.
Just check.
IceJet, yeah.
IJAG's that other program.
IJAG's that other program. It has nothing to do with investment money.
Okay.
Too many acronyms. Okay, before,
I do have one other
Okay,
question.
sure.
And I hadn't heard recently, I'm just curious on, for this, given how badly OPS seemed to botch, I don't know if I can say that, botch their investment policies, have all these been run through our finance committee?
They've not been run through the finance committee. However, what we did is we went out to our bond counsel, and we also dealt with, the name escapes me all right now. Isn't that great? Anyway, we vetted it through them, and they actually sent out the applications for a quote. And since we dealt through them kind of as a third party, they were able to go out on our behalf and get the best quote possible.
Okay.
We did
Is
vet
there-
them, yes.
They're, seeing how they had no oversight over there, now they're different funds and different, institutions. Is there a reason we don't maybe make that a part of our normal policy going forward or something similar to
We
that?
certainly can.
I mean, it just seems like,
Yeah, we certainly can.
that was such a shock to the community and so the oversight was so poor.
A lot of it, I think what you're talking about is their pension fund.
Yeah, I mean, those were investment, I mean, more investments, whereas these are CDs and money markets, but I mean, it was just shocking they didn't have, they had very little oversight
Actually,
on their side.
the board did not follow through on a number of things that were presented to them in past meetings, so, yeah.
Moving to the vote, before us, we have the resolution to approve the institutional money market fund resolution. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
And Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Next up, we have a open enrollment denial for student A. Is there a motion?
I'll move that the board approves denial of student A's open enrollment in application as presented.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Pretty clear.
Okay, before us now is the resolution to deny open enrollment for student A for the 2019-2020 school year. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Finally, before we leave, we had a work session this, prior to the board meeting here, where we were able to hear a data consult from our principal, Hetrick, from Hoover Elementary, which helped us to look at our own data as far as what it means to look at instruction and how we can improve student learning throughout the school, throughout all our schools. So that was valuable for us to see some of our own data instead of just looking at case studies from other school districts around the state. And we'll continue doing the study, but with that, we are adjourned for now.